A few days before our 5th wedding anniversary, Laura posted an intimate photo with her male secretary on social media. The caption read, "New husband." I calmly liked the post, then sent her a divorce agreement. Not long after, she commented under the photo, "Don't ask, it's fake. Lost a game of truth or dare." And she hurried home to explain everything to me. I said, "It's fine. Let's divorce after all." The divorce lawyer was already prepared. Chapter 1. Laura frowned deeply and glared at me. "What do you mean by that? I told you it was truth or dare. You liking it is one thing, but now a bunch of people are asking me about it. It's like I actually cheated." Something stabbed sharply in my chest. I clenched my fingers. "Didn't you?" Laura shot to her feet. "Fine. You don't believe me? I'll video call Peter right now." Peter's gentle voice came through, his tone full of apology. "Raphael, I'm really sorry. We were just playing a game last night. If you're uncomfortable, I'll post a clarification immediately." But his eyes were clearly full of smug satisfaction. I suddenly laughed and said, "Sure. Go ahead, post it." His expression changed instantly. Laura quickly turned gentle, soothing him. "There's nothing to apologize for, and there's no need to clarify." Then she looked at me, her gaze sharp, her tone full of reproach. "Do you really have to make a big deal out of this and put Peter in an awkward position? I think you've been stuck at home too long and lost touch with society. You can't even take a joke." My eyes burned with pain. Laura said I was out of touch with society. But she'd forgotten that back then, when she asked me to become a stay-at-home husband. I had refused. She said that in a family, it was enough for just one person to suffer the hardship of earning money. Yet now all that hardship was coming from her. Inside, emotions surged violently. But on the surface, I forced myself to stay calm. "Yeah, you two get along so well. Maybe you really are more suitable as a married couple." Peter hurried to explain. "Raphael, that's not what I meant." But he couldn't even hide the upward curl of his lips. Only Laura would believe that explanation. Laura's face darkened immediately, her voice low and stern. "Raphael, are you determined to be unreasonable?" Unreasonable in the past. Whenever any woman got close to her, Laura would take the initiative to explain. If I didn't get jealous, she'd even get angry, saying I didn't care enough about her. Now, before I'd even said much, I was already being labeled unreasonable. I blinked, forcing my emotions down, and said in a low voice, "Yeah. Do you want me to clear out space for you two, though? Maybe a new place would be better. After all, he's your new husband." Laura flew into a rage, threw her coat aside, and jabbed a finger at me hard. "Fine, if you want to make things this messy, then so be it with that." She stormed out of the house. The door slammed shut with a loud bang. Only then did my body give out. I collapsed weakly onto the sofa. In just 5 years, Laura had drifted farther and farther away from me. My marriage was nearing its end. 5th anniversary in the end would never be celebrated. Chapter 2. As expected, Laura didn't come back after that. Not until a weekend more than a month later. The moment she walked in, she handed me a paper bag with a luxury brand logo on it. "Honey, I went on a business trip. I left in a hurry and forgot to tell you. I also forgot our anniversary. Don't be mad, I bought you a tie." I opened it and took a look. It was a youthful style, and the color was a light blue. Blue is my least favorite color. Laura used to find that strange. I thought all guys liked blue. I put the tie back into the box and set it on the coffee table. Suddenly, I remembered a post Peter had shared not long ago. He said blue was his favorite color. The color of love. Who this tie was really meant for no longer mattered. I let out a breath. "Find some time. Let's go get the paperwork done." Laura froze for a moment, then tossed a set of car keys at me. "A tie's not enough. I bought you a new car too. Come on, let's go downstairs and take a look." When I didn't move, she pulled out her phone and flipped to some photos. "If you don't want to go down, that's fine. I'll show you the pictures." I glanced at them. The model was painfully familiar. It was the same one Peter drove, just a different color. Laura truly had no bottom line, keeping the red flag standing at home, while colorful flags flew outside, and even making us drive the same model of car. It was disgusting. She wrapped her arms around me, her voice carrying a tenderness I hadn't heard in a long time. "Honey, getting angry is bad for your health. If you get sick from anger, how would I not feel heartbroken? Don't be mad anymore, okay?" I pulled her hands away and just looked at her, enunciating every word. "Pick a time. The two of us will go get the paperwork done." The smile on Laura's face vanished instantly. She darkened, her tone impatient. "I've already gone this far to coax you. What else are you unhappy about?" When I didn't respond, she flew into a rage, stood up, and turned to leave. "You really have to make this such a big deal. If we actually get divorced, I'll see where you go to regret it." Regret? I thought about it for a whole month. How could I regret it last month? I made chicken soup and brought it to her company. But the office was empty. I walked into the inner lounge. Laura and Peter were lying on the bed wrapped in each other's arms, their bodies close and intimate, as if nothing in the world could separate them. It had been a long time since Laura last slept in my arms. Peter's neck was covered in scattered kiss marks. I couldn't take it anymore. My stomach churned violently, and I stumbled out. But I didn't tear the veil off right then. My family's small factory had survived all these solely years because of Laura. If I completely fell out with her, and the factory collapsed with my father's temper, he might end up in the hospital from sheer shock. But now I grabbed her arm. I want to divorce. Laura grew even angrier and shook my hand off. If we really divorce, what do you think will happen to your dad's factory? I cried out hoarsely. Laura, tears poured down uncontrollably. My dad passed away last week. Chapter 3. Last time after I had a fight with Laura, my dad called me and said that the Ramos group had cut off the funding. I called Laura to question her, but Peter answered instead with an awkward tone. He said Laura's busy. She won't be answering her phone for the next few days. I didn't know whether he was telling the truth, but the Ramos group really had stopped the funding. I thought Laura might be deliberately making things difficult for me. I assumed it was just her throwing a tantrum. But only one day later, several suppliers caught wind of it and began terminating their contracts, one after another in less than a week. Almost all our partners chose to cancel cooperation. In the scorching summer heat, I went door to door to speak with their bosses. No one was willing to see me. Eventually, I collapsed from heat stroke under the sun. When I woke up, I saw my dad wiping away tears. "It's Dad who's dragging you down," he said, but we didn't even have the luxury to grieve. The factory had been shut down for days, and the workers came to our home to protest. I called Laura dozens of times, but no one ever answered outside. The workers had already started smashing the doors and windows. In my desperation, I finally managed to contact her through another assistant. Impatiently, she asked, "What is at my family's factory?" Before I could finish, she cut me off. "All right, I know. We'll talk when I get back." After that, I couldn't reach her again. I had no choice but to sneak out and look for help on my own. While leaving, I was even hit on the arm by one of the workers. Fortunately, an uncle who had worked with us for many years was willing to lend me some money so I could first pay the workers' wages. I rushed home overjoyed, but I never expected that. After being besieged by workers for 4 days, my dad had completely collapsed. He jumped from the building and fell right in front of me. I slumped down beside him at once, forgetting even how to cry. Before the funeral, I called Laura again. Peter answered once more. His voice was gentle, but his words pierced straight through my heart. "Laura's taking a shower, Raphael. You know, at times like this, she doesn't like to be disturbed." After hanging up, I stared blankly at my dad's body. That jump didn't just end his life. It also completely severed the very last trace of affection I had for Laura. After hearing everything, Laura fell silent for a long time. There was no way she hadn't seen the dozens of calls I'd made. After a long while, she finally spoke. But she didn't finish the sentence. Perhaps she knew that he was already gone, and there was nothing she could say now. Yet in just a moment, she returned to her usual self. "Raphael, I'm sorry about Dad. But if it weren't for me, your father's factory would have gone bankrupt 4 years ago. His personality, he was never suited for business." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Unable to suppress my anger any longer, I slapped her across the face. "Are you even human?" It was the first time I had ever laid a hand on her. The day I saw her lying in bed with Peter, I had already wanted to do this. Laura clearly hadn't expected me to hit her. She sprang to her feet and raised her hand. I closed my eyes and waited for the slap to come down, but perhaps feeling guilty, she only knocked over the tea and shouted angrily, "You domestic abuser!" She nodded as she spoke. "Fine. You want a divorce right then? Divorce it is with that." She called her lawyer. "Bring over a divorce agreement." Chapter 4. How did Laura and I end up like this? Even I feel a bit dazed thinking about it. Back in my junior year of college, I interned at a company owned by one of Laura's friends. After finding out I was her junior from the same university, she deliberately asked the boss to take extra care of me. Later, as we gradually had more contact, the boss would often bring me along to meet up with her. Her intentions were far too obvious, but I knew very clearly that our backgrounds and social status were worlds apart. There was never going to be a future. She picked me up and dropped me off from work every day. She prepared exam materials for me. She even bribed my roommates, who all tried to persuade me to accept her. Still, I didn't dare to be with her. Many times I explained things to her very firmly, yet she always brushed it off unconcerned. "Whether you agree is your business. Whether I chase after you is mine." I thought that if she kept at it long enough, she would eventually give up, But I never expected her parents to die together in a plane crash. She had originally planned to study abroad, but was forced to temporarily take over the massive group. During that time, she still didn't stop pursuing me. Only every time I saw her. Her face was pale, her brows tightly furrowed. No matter how hard she tried to hide it, she couldn't conceal her exhaustion. After asking my former boss, I finally learned that she was surrounded by danger within the group. Yet in front of me, she still pretended to be calm and unbothered. Could no longer hold back my heartache. During the hardest period of her life, the two of us got through it together. I didn't understand her work at all. All I could do was stay by her side when she felt defeated and make her a bowl of chicken soup. She once held me inside. If it weren't for you, I really wouldn't have made it through. When she finally gained a firm foothold in the group, she booked the entire revolving restaurant to celebrate. That was where our marriage began. She cried like a child, foolishly unable to believe it. You really agree you won't regret it? I'm stubborn by nature. Once you agree, you won't get a chance to leave me. I hugged her. The two of us cried and laughed at the same time. Back then, I truly believed I had met someone who would love me for a lifetime. But after only 5 years of marriage, that love had already become so fragile. It could shatter at the slightest touch. In fact, Laura's change hadn't come out of nowhere. In the 3rd year of our marriage, I found a man's lighter in her pocket for the first time. At the time, I didn't think much of it. Later, the scent of men's cologne began lingering on her. In the group photos she took when going out, Peter's figure always appeared. Every time Peter stood right by her side when she was with me. She would often be called away by sudden phone calls or messages. I comforted myself, telling myself she must just be busy with work. But when it happened too many times, even self-deception became impossible. The doorbell rang. The lawyer had arrived. Chapter 5. When the lawyer took out the divorce agreement, Laura seemed like she still wanted to say something. But I didn't spare her a single glance. I only skimmed it briefly, then signed my name after that. I said coldly, "Laura, sign it." She stared at me for a long time. Seeing that I wouldn't budge, she snatched the agreement away at once. "So you're really going to push things this far? Fine, fine. Don't you regret it?" Fuming, she grabbed a pen and scrawled her signature in a couple of strokes. After signing, she kicked the table hard to vent her anger. At that moment, her phone rang in the silent living room. The voice coming from the receiver was painfully clear. "Laura, I'm not feeling very well. Can you take me to the hospital?" After a pause, he added, "Forget it. You should stay home with Raphael. I'll go by myself." Laura looked at me. I turned my head away indifferently. After hesitating for a moment, she still chose Peter. "I'll take him to the hospital first. Wait for me at home." Then she left almost as if she were fleeing. I didn't pause for even a second and immediately began packing my things. When I was clearing out the bookshelf, a follow-up medical report caught my eye. I finally couldn't hold it in anymore. Clutching the report, I let out a hoarse, explosive shout in the empty house. I had tried my best to save this marriage, but it hadn't even lasted long enough to reach the so-called 7-year itch. Dragging my suitcase, I walked out of the house I had lived in for 5 years. I turned back to look at it. This upscale residential complex wasn't all that great after all. When houses grow bigger, the distance between people only grows farther. As I reached the plaza, I saw a young couple chasing and fooling around. The girl pouted in mock anger. The boy immediately ran back to coax her. She broke into a smile at once and leapt onto his back. Laughing and joking, the two of them ran off together. My eyes burned with soreness. Once Laura and I had been just like that. She had once treated me as her whole world, and precisely because we had truly loved each other. The separation hurt like having muscles torn and bones stripped away. I had already rented an apartment a few days earlier. Moving in now, I only needed to clean up a bit before I could live there. I worked non-stop until the afternoon. Before I could even catch my breath, a dull sudden pain shot through my calf. In the blink of an eye, the pain left me unable to move. Remembering the doctor's instructions, regret washed over me once the pain eased a little. I hurriedly took a taxi to the hospital. The doctor frowned and scolded me. "You absolutely must not engage in intense activity again. Put household chores on hold for now. After a fracture, you need to rest properly. Don't treat your body like it doesn't matter." I nodded, holding a stack of forms, and limped out of the consultation room. But just as I reached the lobby, I ran into Peter. He was smiling. But the smile didn't reach his eyes. They were full of mockery. "Raphael, you didn't follow us here on purpose, did you? You're already divorced from Laura, and you're still chasing after her like this." I didn't want to deal with him and turned to leave. "Raphael," Laura walked over with a slight frown. "Why are you at the hospital?" I let out a cold laugh. "What does it have to do with you?" She grabbed me. "The paperwork isn't finished yet. You're still my husband. How does it have nothing to do with me?" I shook her off, but ended up putting pressure on my calf. My face turned pale instantly. "What's wrong with you?" Before she could step forward to support me, Peter immediately clutched his head. Laura, it still hurts a bit. I watched his performance with a blank expression. Laura hesitated, but seeing my cold, distant look, she wavered for a moment and then chose to support Peter instead, turning back to instruct me. Raphael, go home first. I'll be back later, we'll talk properly. Then after they left, I could no longer hold on. Bent over, I sat down on a chair, waiting for the pain to subside. A nurse came over and asked with concern if I was all right. I could only wave my hand. Inside, bitterness spread uncontrollably. Even a stranger cared more about me than Laura did. Chapter 6. After I got home, I took my medicine and fell asleep. I didn't wake up until Laura's phone call jolted me awake. Why haven't you arrived yet? The whole family is waiting for you. I glanced at my phone and realized I had slept until the afternoon of the next day. Today was Laura's grandparents' golden wedding anniversary. Her grandparents had always treated me well. I couldn't not go when I rushed over with the gift. I immediately saw Peter sitting beside Laura, in the seat closest to Grandma. Laura's cousin spoke up first, rolling his eyes. Quite the attitude you've got, making everyone wait for you. He had never liked me now that he and Peter were close friends. His disgust toward me had only grown. I ignored him and presented the gift. And I looked around. The only empty seat left was next to the cousin. At that moment, Peter suddenly stood up, looking flustered and uneasy. Raphael, I'm sorry. Did I take your seat? Laura told me to sit next to her. I didn't notice. I let out a cold laugh. Didn't notice, or were you hoping for it? You know best, Laura snapped sharply. Raphael, I won't disturb your gathering. Grandpa, Grandma, happy golden anniversary, but Laura and I are already divorced. This is my last time here. I wish you both good health in the years to come. Before I could even walk out, the cousin suddenly shouted, his face full of malice. Divorced? Don't tell me it's because you broke your leg. Makes sense, a cripple like you. What use are you anyway in the past? He mocked me every time we met. I didn't want to cause trouble for Laura, so I endured it again and again. But today I couldn't take it anymore. I strode back and punched him square in the face. The cousin cried out in pain. Peter hurried over to support him. Raphael, how can you be so rude? Rude rage surged through me. You haven't even seen real rudeness yet. I grabbed the hot soup from the table and poured it straight over the two of them. This is what rude looks like. I tossed the bowl aside and turned to leave, but a hand grabbed me. Raphael, what do you mean by a fracture? Laura's voice trembled, her eyes reddening. I looked at her coldly when my dad jumped. He smashed into my leg. By the time you came back from your business trip, I had just gotten the cast removed. Her grip on my hand tightened suddenly. Why didn't you tell me? I laughed. Tell you? Could I even reach you? That sentence made her release me instantly. I finally got away. If I had to look at any of them for one more second, I would feel sick to my core. Just as I got into the car, I saw Laura chasing out after me. She grabbed the car door, guilt written all over her face. Raphael, I didn't know. I'm sorry. I cut her off calmly. I accept your apology, but I don't want to forgive you. Go back. Peter is still waiting for you. As soon as she froze, I shut the car door and urged the driver to leave immediately. Chapter 7. Street lights flashed past outside the car window, and memories surged like a tide. Laura and I once had a child, but at that time, she had just managed to secure her footing within the group. The timing wasn't right. After discussing it, we chose to terminate the pregnancy. After the procedure, Laura was overwhelmed with guilt. For several nights in a row, she woke up crying from her sleep, holding me and apologizing again and again. So many times she fantasized aloud about the future, about having a child and making them the happiest kid in the world. Back then, I truly believed that the happiness of a family of 3 was just around the corner. But in the end, everything had changed. Thinking of this, the dull ache from my injury spread into my chest. I leaned against the car window and let out a slow sigh. That night, Laura called again. Raphael, why aren't you home? I was in pain and exhausted, so I hung up directly, but she kept calling, one call after another, until I was completely forced awake. When I finally answered, I shouted impatiently, "Are you done?" Yet she paused on the other end. Laura's voice sounded pitiful. Raphael, it's so late. Why haven't you come home yet? I closed my eyes and reiterated, "We're already divorced. I won't be going back." She ignored that sentence and only said, "But you're out there alone. I'm worried about you." The scene felt painfully familiar. For the past 2 years, I had been the one making those calls. At first, Laura would patiently explain things to me. Later, she wouldn't even answer the phone. "You never checked up on me before. Why are you so annoying now?" Yes, I used to trust her. So no matter how late she came home, I never urged her, but later, I saw too much evidence of her intimacy with Peter. I began to feel anxious and insecure. Thinking of that, I said seriously, "Laura, I've already rented a place. I won't be going back." She asked urgently, "Where are you living?" I didn't answer and hung up. But somehow Laura found out where I lived. Early the next morning, she appeared at my door. "You're here to take me to get the paperwork done?" I asked. She froze. Then hurriedly explained, "Raphael, I bought you breakfast, have something to eat." She didn't mention the divorce at all. I lowered my gaze and saw that she had bought sweets. "Take it away with my recent fracture. I couldn't eat overly sweet food. It would affect calcium absorption." Laura thought I was refusing her kindness and shoved it into my hands. "If you don't want to go back, then stay here for now. When you've cooled down, I'll come pick you up." After saying that, as if afraid I'd refuse, she ran off in a flash. Over the next few days, she came every single day. Sometimes she brought breakfast, sometimes snacks. No matter how many times I stated clearly that I was determined to get divorced, she refused to believe it, stubbornly urging me to go home when I wouldn't listen. She even hired a caregiver specifically to look after me. The auntie was very kind, so I didn't refuse. Although Laura was an indirect cause of everything, there was no need for me to punish my own body for it. Chapter 8. After my follow-up check confirmed there were no issues, I began looking for a job. I didn't have much work experience, so I could only start as a junior employee. Fortunately, my co-workers were all quite friendly. I quickly got into the rhythm. My days were full and relatively relaxed with one exception. A female colleague from the neighboring HR department was very bold in showing interest in me. Every day, she either brought small snacks or ordered milk tea. I wanted to refuse, but I had no good reason, because every time she brought it for the entire team. Still, everyone knew what was going on, and they even encouraged me to consider it. That left me feeling troubled. It wasn't that I was unwilling to find another partner. It was just that at this stage, I wanted to focus on my career first. What troubled me even more was that our company had business dealings with the Ramos Group. On the day I went to liaise with Ramos, I couldn't help feeling restrained. Some people there recognized me. Sure enough, not long after Laura, having gotten the news, came down from the top floor. Peter followed behind her. When she arrived, that female colleague was chatting with me. Laura's face darkened immediately. With so many people around, she didn't question me outright, but when I went to the restroom, she followed me. "Is this woman the reason you divorced me?" I looked at her, utterly baffled. "First of all, we've already signed the divorce agreement. Second, I just met her. You don't need to project your own behavior onto me." Laura grabbed my arm, suppressing her anger. "Have you made enough of a scene? I thought that after everything I've done to make it up to you lately, you should have calmed down by now." I was practically speechless. "You don't honestly think I've just been throwing a tantrum this whole time, do you?" He frowned. "Isn't that what this is after all these years together? How could we just cut things off like that?" Her naive way of thinking almost made me laugh. I pried her hand off mine and nodded. "I understand." Seeing my expression return to normal, she finally relaxed. "Then come back and stay at home tonight." I didn't respond, apparently taking my silence as consent. Laura left, pleased with herself. On the way back, Peter came out to meet her. He first glanced at me warily, then looped his arm through Laura's. "Why did you take so long?" Laura shoved him away, turned back to look at me, wearing an expression as if she were waiting for praise. I walked past the two of them without even glancing sideways. Behind me came Laura's impatient voice. "Stay away from me," I sneered inwardly. Peter was truly pitiful. Laura didn't seem to like him that much either, snapping at him whenever she pleased. After I got home from work, Laura's call came right on time. "Raphael, what do you mean by this? You're suing me." Back on the day of Grandpa and Grandma Ramos's golden anniversary, I had already contacted a lawyer to start the process. I hadn't expected the notice to reach Laura today. I said calmly, "If you won't go handle the paperwork with me, I have no choice but to go through the legal process." Laura was silent for a long while. "You really want to divorce me? I think I've made that very clear to you the last few times." After saying that, I hung up. But less than half an hour later, someone started pounding on my door. It was Laura. I didn't open it for a long time. She simply gave up on her image and shouted outside, "Raphael, I need to talk to you." Even the neighbor across the hall came out to urge me. With no other choice, I opened the door and let her in. Laura's coat was crooked, her clothes wrinkled and disheveled. It was the first time I had ever seen her in such a sorry state. Once inside, she shrank back instead. "Raphael." She swallowed, then said pitifully, "I want to drink the chicken soup you make again." Chapter 9. Back in those days when we supported each other, I often stewed chicken soup for her. My mom once said that chicken soup made with love could soothe all unhappiness. But now I no longer had that much love left for her. I shook my head. "Laura, I'm not your nanny. If you want chicken soup, go find Peter." Laura's eyes instantly reddened. When she spoke again, her voice was choked with sobs. "Raphael, I don't want a divorce." As if remembering something, she pulled a ring out from her clothes. Look, this is the first ring I ever gave you. I'll give it to you again. I took it from her hand. Her eyes lit up immediately, but the next second I walked over to the window and threw the ring out. Laura rushed to the window as if she'd gone mad. Then she turned back, staring at me in disbelief. I said coldly, "This is my resolve." She lowered her head, lost in thought. I couldn't be bothered with her anymore and headed toward the bedroom. "When you leave, close the door behind you." Suddenly, she hugged me tightly from behind. Warm liquid soaked into my back. "Raphael, I was really wrong. I don't want a divorce." She was holding me too tightly. I had to use real force to break free. I shoved her away. She staggered back 2 steps. Yet her expression was eerily calm. Looking at her like that, a sense of dread rose in my chest. Sure enough, when I turned back, she followed me, locked the bedroom door, and turned the key. I couldn't believe it. I banged on the door and shouted, "Laura, are you insane? This is illegal." She said, "We won't divorce. We'll just stay like this together in one house and not go out. Our relationship will slowly heal." There was a hint of madness in her voice. After that, she only repeated one sentence over and over. "I don't want a divorce." I took a deep breath, forcing myself to calm down. "Laura, I saw you sleeping with Peter." Silence the next second. The door was flung open. Laura's eyes were bloodshot. "Raphael, listen to me. It was Peter who seduced me. Really, I'm sorry. I won't do it again. Please forgive me." She tried to come at me again, but I forced her back with a baseball bat. "Don't come near me, you disgust me." Her entire body stiffened, pain flashing across her face. Just as we stood locked in that tense standoff, there was another knock at the door. It was the police. Just moments earlier, I had sent an emergency text to report it. Chapter 10. Laura was taken away and detained. Taking advantage of that opportunity, I applied for an internal transfer at my company. The branch in City C needed staff, so I gave up my apartment and moved there directly. Before I left, Laura and I completed the divorce procedures. From beginning to end, we didn't exchange a single word. Only at the moment of parting did she speak hoarsely. "Raphael, I fired Peter." According to Laura, Peter was unwilling to accept it and followed her to her home. While crossing the street, he was hit by a car, although he was saved. He was left with high-level paralysis. I couldn't help but sigh. But none of that had anything to do with me anymore. Laura asked tentatively, "Raphael, can we still?" I cut her off. Between us, it was never just about Peter. Even without him, there would have been other men, and most importantly, I no longer have any trust in you. Laura's face turned deathly pale. In an instant, her lips trembled, but for a long time, she couldn't say a single word. I didn't bother to listen any further and turned to leave. In City C, my abilities improved greatly. In just 2 years, I was promoted to project supervisor. My income doubled as well. Laura would often come to see me secretly. In fact, I always knew. But I pretended not to notice and never spoke to her. Until one day, she suddenly stepped forward and stopped me. Her voice was a little hoarse. "Raphael, I looked at her quietly. Today is my birthday. Do you remember?" Her eyes were full of anticipation, but I had truly forgotten. Work was too busy. I hadn't even thought about her in a long time. Seeing that I didn't speak, her expression gradually dimmed. I said softly, "Happy birthday." She immediately lifted her head, tears glimmering in her eyes. "Can I hug you one more time?" I refused. I shouldn't let her have any more illusions. From that day on, Laura never came again. At least I never saw her under her leadership. The Ramos Group continued to grow larger and stronger. I often heard colleagues mention her, but in my heart, there were no longer any ripples. Over those 2 years, there were also outstanding women who pursued me, but I focused on my work and didn't have much energy to spare for that. 5 years later, Laura's cousin suddenly called me. "My cousin wants to see you." I had always disliked him, so naturally, I didn't want to bother. Before I could hang up, though, he started crying on the other end. "I treated you badly before. I apologize, but my cousin really isn't doing well anymore. She only wants to see you." I was startled. I had seen Laura in the news last year. She had seemed perfectly fine. Then when I rushed to the hospital, I saw Laura, who looked nothing like her former self. Emaciated and skeletal, her hair was cut very short. Her cheekbones protruded, her cheeks were sunken, and the arm extending from beneath the blanket was nothing but skin over bone. I stared at her in disbelief. Her cousin explained from the side. "She's been drinking all the time. She's been hospitalized several times for gastric bleeding. Repeated gastric bleeding and perforations caused her health to deteriorate more and more. Last year, she was diagnosed with stage 2 gastric cancer. It could have been controlled, but Laura refused treatment and instead abused her body even more recklessly. Very quickly, it progressed to stage 4 gastric cancer. She just said she wants to see you one more time." In the afternoon, Laura finally woke up when she saw me. Tears instantly streamed from her eyes. "Raphael," she had very little strength left, but she still forced herself to speak. I'm sorry, Raphael. Just those 2 sentences had already exhausted all her energy. To say I felt nothing at all would be a lie. But in the end, everyone has to pay the price for their own actions. Chapter 11. After Laura passed away, her lawyer came to see me. Half of the shares she held were transferred to me. Laura said this is her compensation. She asked that you not refuse it. At the time of the divorce, Laura had already given me half of the marital assets. Now with these additional shares, I had effectively become a true millionaire. I resigned from my job and went abroad to continue my studies. This time I chose a major that I truly liked. After graduating, I opened a small studio of my own. Life moved at an unhurried pace. In my spare time, I traveled to different parts of the world. Along the way, I made many friends. I also met people who made my heart flutter. But I no longer threw myself into love without reservation, nor did I place all my emotions onto a partner. More than anything else, I learned to prioritize my own feelings. My current girlfriend often says, "When you love yourself, that's when you're most attractive." To me, I look at the birds gliding across the sky. They are free and unrestrained, just like me.